Three, two, one. Welcome to the Lightforge. This is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Hope you guys had a great week. Let's talk about some arenas a little bit, and then let's talk about some BGs a little bit. This isn't going to be a super long podcast, I don't think. But
Depends on how many annoying questions I can ask you in this time.
That's true. So if you guys don't know, ADWCTA has not been playing. I have been playing quite a bit of BGs, but a little bit of arena as well. So he is going to be, just the. It's like in those informational videos, you always have that little kid. It's like, but Mister, why did this happen? That's gonna be ADWCTA right now.
Yep, so the goal for me is to not open up Hearthstone again until November, until this dual class thing is gone. Because I never enjoyed dual class arena. I think I enjoyed it for like 1 week when it first came out, and I was tired of it afterwards. And then they keep bringing it back every year, and then I keep having to play it while grumbling. And this year I just I'm just completely out. So every time they do dual class arena, something else changes. Like, it's never just we're going to mix and match two classes. They always add something to it. I remember last year it was just neutral stone, right? Like, there were like no class cards. And the year before that, it was like all class cards. You had like 20 class cards out of 30 at least for every single deck. So what happened this year? You've been playing. What's in the meta? Let's just do a kind of a brief coverage.
What do you mean? What's in the meta? Like, what is the meta?
Yeah, right. Sorry. What is the meta? Like, what?
Sure.
Yeah. Like, how are things feeling? Are we seeing a lot of class cards, a little class cards? You know, do people have like 5 legendaries?
Here is the thing. As you guys know, the occurrence of class cards is different from class to class. It's not like, oh, they reset everything so that in dual class arenas, I can pick any class I want and you'll still, they reset everything. They did not reset everything. Okay. So if you look at HS Replay right now, the number one class for arena, remember, this is the class that you pick first. So it's actually the less important class because it is, quote, one half of your total class, but it's the much less impactful one because it's not your hero power one. And warrior is number one. It makes a lot of sense because you're thinking, well, okay, you're taking the warrior hero power out of the pool, which we all know is not great. But warrior sees a higher percentage of class cards, and weapons are always very good as well, right? So warrior is number one, and their highest card frequency or frequency card is Arcanite Reaper. So it makes sense that, and you see that in 38% of decks. We know that Arcanite Reaper is an almost always pick. Warriors have a higher chance of getting class cards than some other classes, like Demon Hunters. And you're taking their bad hero power out of the pool. So that is just like the number one. I'll just go down the list for a second. You see warrior, you see priest, you see shaman, druid, hunter, paladin, and then it's rogue, mage, warlock, demon hunter. And then for the end, it kind of makes sense as well, right? Because rogue, mage, warlock, demon hunter, these are great hero powers for the arena.
They're your 4 best hero powers in the arena.
Right. But for the best classes, another common trend is that you are seeing that they are getting more class cards than other classes. I'll call them first classes, okay? Because when you use classes during this time, it's a little bit confusing. First classes, which is the first class that you pick, and HS Replay is able to give you those stats about. So, for example, priest as a first class, they'll have 37%. 37% of decks have mind control, and then within those decks there's 1.2 copies of mind control. So in warriors, 38%, so about the same, have Arcanite Reaper. So you can see that, okay, these classes have about like 38% frequency of their best or among their best class cards. And then you go all the way down to the bottom, which is Demon Hunter, and you look, no card appears in more than 30% of their decks, and these are all neutrals. What
Mm-hmm.
is the very first class card? It is Marrow Slicer, which we know is a great card, right? So if you're talking about, Arcanite Reaper and you're talking about Mind Control, Marrow Slicer is another premium card. It only shows up in 28.8%. So, not even 29% of all decks. Does that mean people are not taking Marrow Slicer? No, they should, unless another super premium comes up. But that huge discrepancy, 38% versus 28, 29%, that comes from the
Mm-hmm.
fact that Demon Hunters do not get these cards offered. So that's what you want to look for in dual class arenas as well. Look, we've talked a lot about the discover meta. That's still present, right? Like that's nothing new. But what you're able to uniquely do in this dual class arena is take these classes that Blizzard has said, yes, we're going to give you more class cards because your class just kind of sucks. And the context of that is you kind of suck because your hero powers are not great. But suddenly you have Warrior with, uh, like a mage hero power, right? Or a paladin hero power, even like a priest hero power is just like strictly better, right? So
Yeah,
and then
but
suddenly
not
your
a
class
warlock
becomes
hero
much
power. Don't do that to yourself. Remember, if
better.
you're gonna hurt yourself, don't pick more ways to hurt yourself.
Yeah. So this is kind of the meta right now. Understand that your previous knowledge, if you knew this stuff, like if you were really in deep, you knew this stuff, right? Not all classes are made evenly. This is not some class utopia here. They're going for win rate balance, not
Mm-hmm.
balance, if you know what I mean. So the warriors and the priests and the shamans, which we knew were buffed or raised to have more class cards because the classes just kind of sucked, um, take advantage of that. So take these classes, which are getting a lot of class cards. And we're at the point where class cards are just really good, right? We've always known that class cards are just really, really good. Uh, Take these classes that have a much higher chance of getting class cards and then pair it up with a good, flexible hero
Mm-hmm.
power. Um, and you have a winning combination here. It becomes really good. So, and on the flip side, it's a double whammy, right? If you pick mage, not only do you not get the mage hero power possibility, what is the highest class card? It's polymorph at 27%. So it's like pretty similar. Like
Mm-hmm.
the bad classes, uh their auto pick cards you're only seeing in about 27% of decks, and the good classes, the classes that are good according to Aegis Replay, they're seeing their best cards at 38, 37%.
Yeah. So the other thing you can do is just like stack bad classes because one of like it's nice to have a good hero power and everything. So if you're gonna pick mage or demon hunter or rogue, you pick them as your second class, not as your first class. But you can also just do like I don't know, like warrior shaman stack. Like that'll work fine because then you're just stacking a lot of really really powerful cards together and screw your hero power, right? Like as the cards get more and more OP in this game, as the thing, the climb, the what do you call that? Power creep. That's what you call it. As the power creep in this game gets more and more ridiculous overall, especially in neutral cards, your hero powers get worse and worse because the hero powers never change. So the only hero power that kind of like keeps up and is adjusted for the power levels of the cards you put in your deck is the Warlock hero power. Nothing else scales. So all the other hero powers over time have just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. So by this point, you don't really need a good hero power to have kind of an OP class. So that's another reason why you see the really bad hero power classes, which generally also have really good cards and really high adjusted offering rates for those good cards. That's why you see them up top as well. And just going by the warrior, I'm going to call it the warrior meta. When you have warriors at the top, where half the time at least, if not more than half the time, their hero power, they're going to pick a hero power that is not actually going to heal you. But you're still going to have all these big weapons, or at least half of the big weapons, and maybe more if your other class is paladin or something. What you're going to end up with is a meta in which it's pretty aggressive. Like, yes, there's card generation and everything, but if warriors are your dominant class, and warriors are known for being able to flexibly go for card advantage or go for face, and warriors, when they go for card advantage, really are trying to rely on their hero power to be able to heal them back up later on, and now they can't do that because they don't have their hero power anymore most of the time, you're just going to end up with a pretty aggressive class. And
you could make it that way.
Yeah,
like you have the option. I'm not saying like that's like exactly what you're gonna be seeing. I'll say you see some aggressiveness, and then I'll say you don't see a lot of like the meta still is very discover slow, like kind of centric. You could build it. People aren't building them.
Really?
That's the thing. They are not. No, they are not.
Huh. I would expect so people are picking warrior in decent numbers, and they're going like just discover with it?
No, this is the win rates.
Oh, you're saying people aren't you're not seeing warriors in the meta. Too much more. Like they just pop up here and there.
These are the win rates, which do not necessarily
right, yeah.
Played.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay then. I just figure because if warriors are like if you are playing a warrior and you want to make a good deck, you're going to more likely, especially when you pick a hero power that is not warrior or priest, you're going to more likely make like a mid-range deck than you are going to make a let's compete for card advantage deck. That's how warriors are built. So. If you are warrior, keep that in mind. You don't have the same liberties that you would as an actual warrior in dual class arena. And if you're not warrior, I had figured that there's enough classes in the meta that would do warrior like things, right? But maybe not.
Yeah. People are still playing those very kind of slow. Value centric kind of things. I think
Smug Senior is still in the meta.
Yeah, and the problem you have with more aggressive decks is still there are just so many tools that are able to stop them. And with stuff like priests just being in the meta as well, like a single apotheosis can kind of screw you over, right? A single smug senior can sometimes just end you. Like not really just
okay. I think we are having a different definition of what aggressive is. When I say aggressive right now, I just mean the deck curves out. Like you have 5 to 6 2-drops, 4 to 5 3-drops.
It's mid range. Mid range with like some
option, right? Fine. The old school definition of mid range, which has been this has been it. A deck that has 5 to 6 2-drops, 0 or 1, or like 1 or 2 1-drop, and then 4 or 5 3-drops, and then 4 4-drops, and 3 5-drops, etc. Right? That has been an aggressive deck in the meta for like more than a year now. Like that kind of deck has been considered aggressive for more than a year now. It's not like a face deck or like a old school classic aggro deck, but like anything that fully curves out and has ways to deal reach, I don't know. I consider that an aggressive deck as of like a year ago. So that's what I mean when I say you're going to see more aggressive decks, because before the dual class arena, it like after they did the micro adjust, it got a little more aggressive or like mid range, rather than like the total like just kind of you never run out of cards meta, right? Like we were in the you never run out of cards meta, and then we were in the so you are going to run out of cards, but it's still like a bit slow, but you should probably curve out at this point. And now we should be in a meta where you need to play. Well, you don't need, depending on what classes you are and what cards you have, but for the most part, the tempo is what you consider mid-range and what I would call aggressive, which is just to ensure that you have a curve.
Yep. So, that's the arena right now. It's still pretty fun. Like, there's obviously still lots of decisions to be made, and at the end of the day, it's just about kind of what you enjoy. Um, I know we haven't been talking a lot of arena just because the skills that are necessary for this. There's some fundamental skills, but the specific skills we try not to focus too much on. Now, if you guys are looking for more arena content, I will be streaming arena tomorrow night, which means Monday night, because I'm kind of tired of
God, how
EGs.
bad is this
So
Battlegrounds meta that you're like playing multiple nights of a dual class arena?
I know. I mean, dual class arena is like fun in its own way if you just don't take it seriously, right? Which I don't. I don't
Mm,
take it seriously.
I can't.
But
I can't do it.
yeah.
It feels
So
like Brawl to me.
it kind of is. It kind of is. Um, so if you guys are looking for arena content, feel free to join me tomorrow night or Monday night to be more specific. If you guys are listening to this in the car or on your way to work or something tomorrow. But that's where we're at. It is interesting, but I don't know if anyone is going to be going super hard at it because there's just not much I think that you can learn from playing at this time unless you want to dig deep into like HS replay and all these analyses. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay, so let's move on from Arena to Battlegrounds, which is we talked about this last week. That it's when Sun Glitters was here. Which, by the way, if you are interested in Battlegrounds and you did not catch last week's episode, it was excellent. I think you guys really delved into all the Battleground stuff with elementals as well as like why things are bad. But it was pretty much a consensus that this is like the worst Battlegrounds meta ever, like, or
It's
at least
pretty bad.
tied for like the worst Battlegrounds meta ever.
Right. I talked about this last week, and worst meta ever, it always ends up being subjective based on what skills do you like to be expressed and what skills are minimized during a certain meta, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
whenever anyone talks about worst meta ever, um, what the meaning behind that usually is that there are skills or characteristics that I like to be challenged about or I want to be expressed that are irrelevant right now or just,
Mm-hmm.
significantly lessened. That's really what it means. So we see that that is somewhat subjective, right? If you like this aspect and the majority of people don't like it, you still might think that the meta is good. So just a short recap of what we talked about last week with Sun Glitters. The reason that people are not liking this meta come from many factors. Number one, we've reached a critical mass of heroes where all the heroes are just trying to rush and get to that scaling unit really, really fast. Some are going to be able to hit, some won't hit, and the game just really spirals out of control at
Mm-hmm.
that time. So
It's a
we're not
snowball meta.
it's a snowball meta. It's a snowball meta and some heroes are just much much better at it than others. Maev is the worst offender of it. Maev is by far the worst offender of this, we can call it the greed meta, the snowball meta, whatever you want. She's by far the worst offender. And we also have heroes like Omu, who's like really good in that regard. Rafam, in a way, Jandis, in a way. And what I mean is Jandis, not Pogo Jandis, because Pogo Jandis
Mm-hmm.
actually plays very much like Tyrion, in which she'll beat you, but she won't deal as much damage. But it's the non-Pogo Jandises, which are actually really scary in terms of damage and ending your run early. Um, because everyone complains a lot about Rag, and understandably so. Rag is really, really good. But Rag is a hero that is amazing for getting top four and even top two. Not as good for steamrolling away with the game and securing that top one like Maev is good at doing. So that's sort of the problem with the meta. People are saying it's too fast. A lot of it is dependent on where are you by turn 7, literally turn 7. If you are not in a position where you have the major scaling units by turn 7, at the latest turn 8, you are probably not getting number 1. And that's true. And on the flip side of that, uh, you have people that have gotten these units and have set themselves up in such a way that they are killing people. They're doing 25, 30 damage on turn 8, turn 9. And people are very, very frustrated by the fact that I'm really strong right now, but I faced a guy who was even stronger. Like I'm like 50% stronger than the third place guy, but I faced the number 1 guy who is 100% stronger than me, and because of that I died.
Mm-hmm.
And this RNG, where it's about who you face and much less about what you do, that's very frustrating for some people, because too often, and I'm not saying it happens every single game, but too often for people's liking, they, play, they don't make a mistake according to them, and they might not have made a mistake. The best players in the world might have done the exact same things, and then they face that double Kalgos Maev on turn 8, and they just take 30 damage and die, which makes it feel bad, right? You could have positioned differently, it doesn't matter. You could have greeted less, greeted more, it doesn't matter. You just died. So that is the problem with the meta right now. And we see a lot of people complaining on the subreddits. We see a lot of streamers very frustrated at the same time. I watch a lot of streams, so I've watched Slissa, Sunglitters, Dog, Wobble, Victor. Those are the people I would say I watch probably the most. And all of them have expressed their frustrations in different ways, because too often, to their liking, they just die on turn 8 or turn 9.
Well, that doesn't sound fun.
It doesn't sound fun, which is one of the reasons that I'm kind of staying away. Once again, I have a lot of hope for the future of Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds is the future, okay? If you, all you arena stalwarts who are just like, wait, I think arena can make a comeback. No, Dreads, it's never making a comeback. I like arena, but you are really, really trying to sell me damaged goods. If you're trying to tell me that arena is going to make a comeback, you can try to tell me that the new mode is going to take over. I might believe that, whatever the new mode is. But Arena is not making a comeback. BGs are the future. So I'm very optimistic. I just think this meta is much too frustrating. And right now, if I do play BGs at all, I'm just going to mess around. I'm just going to try stuff. But I think the meta is broken right now. I think that the MMR system is still broken. We were very happy, or I was very happy, when I heard about the fact that they were resetting the MMRs, and I thought that they would implement a new system, but we have the same problems. We have the same climb, and we have the same inflation issue. And if my understanding of their system is correct, or the way that they stated, we have an even worse inflation issue now. And all we're doing is every few months or so, they just force you to do something really tedious while your internal MMR just keeps going higher and higher and higher. So we fixed nothing. We actually made the situation worse by making it, number 1, less transparent, and number 2, just even more of a grind than it was before. So these are the two things that make me be like, okay, I'm just going to take a break. Because, like I said last time, I played a ton of Battlegrounds in the first 2 days. I did pretty well. I think I had a good feel for the meta. And then as soon as I had a good feel for the meta and I understood what the meta was, I was like, all right, I'm out. That's it. No more. So that's sort of
So
where we're at.
So the meta's broken, the heroes are broken, some of the units are broken, the MMR system is broken, the number of players on your team that you're allowed to have is broken.
That is
What
broken,
that
yes.
just sound, like right now it sounds like having played 0 minutes and watched 0 minutes of this entire Battlegrounds meta. I'm totally serious about this Hearthstone break. I have not seen anything. It sounds bad. Like it sounds really bad, and it doesn't seem like everybody thinks it's the worst meta, but most players seem like they're there. And I have to think that with Blizzard, it's been what? It's been like a year since Battlegrounds came out in quote unquote beta. They got to be moving at some point towards getting Battlegrounds out of beta, of getting like a better monetization system into Battlegrounds. And this has just these are businesses work, right? Like right now, Battlegrounds is being monetized really poorly, like because it's still in beta and Blizzard knows it, and Blizzard is a company and Blizzard needs to monetize it better, and they will push out the product. And it has to be one of their top goals right now. So Battlegrounds has to, even if they still call it beta, get a better monetization system. And in order to do all that, you need like a functional game, right? And with the Elementals being the last tribe coming in, this is where they are. Like, I think they're going to make a balance patch very soon, like next week soon, or 1 week after that, like at most. And then they're probably going to put out more balance patches or more content patches that have little balance tweaks, like very quickly after that, because they have to shore everything up. They also have this new game mode that they're supposed to launch like before December, right? Like,
Any day now. Like
yeah,
we are supposed to get news about it any day now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like when the new game mode launches, they don't want to be messing around with Battlegrounds or Constructed or Arena or anything else, and they would want all their player base to try out the new game mode. So what they will probably need to do, assuming the new game mode is going to be announced sometime towards the end of this Halloween event, and probably kick off right after the Halloween's event, right after the not Halloween, the October event, with dual classes and everything else. So assuming that's the timeline, they have to fix this other stuff quick so that the attention is not on these kinds of battleground fixes. And everyone's obsessed with battlegrounds. Blizzard knows that. They have the numbers. So they need to get all this out of the way so that when they actually announce and actually like release the new game mode, it gets the attention. It gets all the attention from everybody, no matter what your primary game mode is.
Yeah. I also expect something soon-ish, just because they have internal numbers, and I think Blizzard is very interested in tracking this kind of stuff. Like, for example, how much damage is being dealt on each turn, right?
Mm,
How long are people living in general? And this is stuff that's important to them because this is about the net overall
yeah.
experiences that people have. And as we know, this is something that is very important to Blizzard. Blizzard cares less about balance, actual balance, than about how
Mm-hmm.
people feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's understandable. Like, don't think that this is like exactly a criticism of them. They care a lot about how people feel, not exactly how pure the balance
Right.
is. And right now, people are feeling really bad because the balance is off, right? But they are feeling really bad. And we all know that Blizzard cares deeply about that. So I do expect slash hope that they are working on something pretty big. Like, it's not just going to be something like, oh, by the way, we're nerfing these two elementals by a tiny bit. Um, we might see something like that soon-ish, but I think we'll see something much bigger, like very, very soon. Because yeah, we're at a point where Battlegrounds is just a little bit broken right now. Not, you know, not anything that dampens my enthusiasm for the future, but it certainly makes me not want to play right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So you also want to talk about poison builds in BGs, which is like the new hot build that people are running outside of
well,
elementals.
it's not really the new hot build. It's the I've given up because I have no scaling unit, but I still don't want to lose 120 MMR, so I need to default into this. Okay, so here's where we are in this meta. I've complained so much about the meta, and you might be asking, well, Merps, if I do want to play this Clown Fiesta, what do I need to do? All right, Timmy, I'm going to tell you what you got to do, okay? You got to give up on your hopes and dreams. And some of you guys might be saying, well, I listened to the Lightforge podcast. Well, obviously, I've already given up on my hopes and dreams, in which case you are well suited for the meta.
Way ahead of the game.
Way ahead of the game. But what I mean is, when I said that you need to know pretty much what you're doing by turn 7 and latest by turn 8, turn 9 is like, oh man, that's so late. But sure, maybe you could pull it off. And this is crazy, right? Where previously, like, if you had gotten a turn 9 Caligos, you were thinking like, oh man, I'm like so ahead of the curve. Like, this is great. This is an early Caligos.
Turn 9 is usually the first chance you get to get a Caligos. Like the earliest chance you get.
No, but now there's such a thing as like Maiev having double buffed Caligos by turn 8. So like they got it turn 7, they were able to like get a lot of buffs in. If you don't have the direction that early, you need to look at where your lobby is heading. And most of the time, a decent number of people are going elementals. And you have to say, okay, well, what is the most gold efficient way for me to beat these people? And a lot of times it is poison murlocs plus the deadly spore, which is the tier 4 1/1 poison unit, plus selfless heroes, and maybe a baron thrown in. So what you are trying to do is just salvage your broken comp and say, other people are going to outscale me really fast. How can I cheat to keep up with them? Well, infinite attack is a pretty good way to cheat it. And what's good with your infinite attack units? Divine shields on infinite attack units, right? So the meta has sort of turned into this rock, paper, scissors kinds of thing where the haves, which are the people who were able to get these scaling units, Little Rag, or Bran, sometimes Caligos, but Caligos is a little hard because it's tier 6 and not tier 5. These people are the haves, and they're able to start buffing up huge minions incredibly fast. The have-nots are the people who missed on it, and what you need to do in order to try and keep up, you buying those, you know, the cups and the jugs and the, you know, spending 3 gold for a +2/+2, you're never going to be able to keep up. So you have to start buying these poisons, and you have to start buying up these selfless heroes in order to try to get divine shields on those in order to fight against that. So it's sort of a counter to these huge elemental bodies and menagerie bodies sometimes. And in response to that, it also means that if we have a rock, papers, scissors meta, the third prong of it are these sort of mech death rattle-ish builds. I'm not saying like mech and death rattle, although you can make that, obviously. But it's like, you know, mechs with these refreshes and also just kind of like barren death rattle builds. Because if you think about it, some of these comps that are countering elementals, they are selfless heroes or a golden selfless hero and just these small poison minions. You know what beats that? Like a single gas coiler. Like literally just a single gas coiler and 6 like whatever other units can beat these small poison comps.
Shooty demons?
Yeah, shooty demons, sure. Shooty demons are actually really good against it. Shooty demons are just tough because you get like pretty stomped. You get pretty stomped, and you have to collect, right? Like you have to collect these shooty demon pieces as well. And it kind of forces you to give up a little early than I think a lot of people are trying to go for. This is why you don't see many shooty demons. But yes, if you are unlucky enough to be building this poison build and you face up against shooty demons, yeah, you die. Like they massacre you, actually. So we kind of have this rock, paper, scissors meta. But if you are finding that it's like, man, I can't climb. How do I beat these elementals? There's like just no possible way I can keep up with them. Yeah, your mistake is trying to keep up with them when you didn't high roll early. You need to find a way past that. So that's when you have to shift, try to get these poison minions, try to get these selfless heroes. And it's also one of the reasons why, if you are not doing it already, value Selfless Hero a bit higher nowadays. Selfless Hero is the meta, essentially. It makes any comp, almost like any comp, better. And by you picking up early Selfless Heroes, not only are you giving your beginning warband some strength, you can carry into the mid game. You give yourself the chance to triple it, and we all know Golden Selfless Hero is really freaking good. But it also gives you an out if you miss on that brand, on that little rag. You're able to more easily transition to this poison build to beat those elementals. And if not completely beat them and get first or second place, salvage that third or fourth place over that seventh place that you were going to get, just trying to buff a little bit here, a little bit there. So remember, give up on your hopes and dreams very early on if you don't get that scaling unit. That's just what you have to do.
But hear me out here. What if you do shooty demons and you give up on your hopes and dreams even earlier? Because you talked about a rock, paper, scissor, and shooty demons beats both rock and scissors. It just loses to paper. It just loses to one of your three things, right? It's going to kill mech builds. It's going to kill poison builds. It's just going to lose to the big stuff. But you're going to lose to the big stuff with a mech build anyway, and like with a mech/death rattle build anyway. And this way, you're not competing with anything that anyone else cares about, right?
So the people don't usually go mech builds. When I say rock paper scissors, I mean that the mech builds like beat these poison builds. You don't see a lot of them, right? So once again, and with these poison builds, you typically don't see them until actually the late mid game / end game. Like that's when they really materialize, right? As the stats become more polarized, these builds people like tech into more and more.
I see.
That's kind of the problem with shooty demons, because your idea is correct, right? When you think about it, you're like, wait, okay, if this, but it's just a way that it forms and the proportion that it forms in. It doesn't favor shooty demons as much. And the problem is when you're building up those shooty demons, you have to survive those turns in which these poison comps really haven't really either fully transitioned into the poison comps, right? Like they still have a couple, like maybe 2 or 3 big minions, right? That are still a little bit too big. Or you just face these huge elementals when they're, on like turn 9, right? In which they're already way too big for you, way too big for you already. And then you just sort of die at that time as well. And the other problem with shooty demons is that you are very, very reliant on just rolling to find the pieces. It's not something that you can just
I mean, like if you like hit it, right? Like
look,
not
if you hit the perfect shooty demon comp, obviously go for it, right? But
if you just like find one on like tier 3 on your first turn on tier 3, you shouldn't just go for it and kind of accept 4th place, because you won't get there.
No, you shouldn't, because the higher percentage plays is to go for if there's still any chance for you to hit that scaling unit, still go try to hit that scaling unit.
I mean, you're just on tier 3. It's the first turn on tier 3. You still have all the chances to hit scaling units, right?
Yeah, exactly. You still have all the chances to hit scaling units. So, and obviously, look, if you have an Imprisoner, and you see the Juggler there, and you're just trying to go for some stats at that point, sure, pick it up, see what happens, and then if they throw some more Jugglers your way, maybe lean that direction. It's just not advantageous for you to actually lean towards it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
And
because
that's
the mid game doesn't actually have poison builds.
Yeah, the mid game doesn't have these pure poison builds, right? It's funny, like the shooty demons really don't beat the soon to be poison builds. They'll crush the actual poison builds that you see on like the final 1v1 battle with like elementals versus the poisons, but they won't beat like the poison builds before they really become the poison builds. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Anything else about Battlegrounds before we move on?
Yeah. So let's talk about a huge event that happened just yesterday, actually. We had the finals of the Esports Battle Blitz BG tournament with $10,000 on the line. There were 8 invited players, 8 players who qualified. It was a really, really great showing with lots of good plays. And at the end of it, with 16 extraordinarily good players, Victor, or 12 wins, came out of it as the champion. Lee came out as second place. It was very tight. It went down to the final game. And I just thought it was a tremendous event. Very well done by all of the players and all of the organizers, especially because we had 4 qualifiers leading into the final. So this was not a singular event, it was a marathon.
Hmm.
So I just want to give a shout out to everyone involved in the organization, all the players, all the casters. So Slissa, Sun Glitters, Dreads, and Heatwave. The casting was superb. And I just hope we see much more of these events in the future because with private lobbies, it has just opened up a world of possibilities. I said this even like much before they actually came out with private lobbies, and it just puts the power in the content creators' hands. And we have so many ways of doing this, right? And I like the way that the Esports Battle Blitz tournament showcased up and coming talent or talent that we might not have seen before because of these huge qualifiers. So props to everyone involved. I had a lot of fun watching. I had a lot of fun entering qualifier and getting 0 points. I had a lot of fun playing with Legend Heart in hashtag Team Mason Moon. We did not make it in the final round, but stuff happens. Um, just very happy to be a part of it and very excited to see the event go off without a hitch because it's really just a sign of good things to come.
Sounds good. And yeah, hope they host more of these. Like, I'm surprised at the scope of it. That like that was what they decided to do, and it's almost certainly one of those like, hey, if we pull this off, like we can do this, right? So hopefully there will be more of these to come in the future when the meta is not so terrible. Okay, that's it for the Hearthstone portion of this. Before we end this, question from the goat. Question from the goat is brought to is brought to us. Is brought to you by our Patreons, and our Patreons for our top Patreons for the month of October. Oh, this would be nice if I had this prepared
It would.
because it was prepared, but then I can't find it, and now I have to stall while I say words and more words when the first round of stalling did not work. Okay, here we go. Top patrons for the month of October: Nordoge, Larissa H, Karova, Doug A, Joe T, Yin, Changyan 1, Dan F, Feldylox, Torjado, Math and Carnage, RV Night Train, Aaron L.S., Eric L., and Jordan W. Thank you guys so much for supporting us through the Patreons. When I we've been or I've been kind of taking a break for this month, but I'll be back next month. And in the meantime, question from the goat is what have we been doing in the non Hearthstone space? I
All
know
right.
you haven't talked about it much, but you've been on many Twitch rivals at this point.
Yes. So this Friday was my third Twitch rival Fall Guys event. Unfortunately, we still did not make the playoffs this time. So the format is 20 teams. Top 4 teams go into the final playoffs. And the first rivals we had, we were in 12th place. The second rivals we had, we were in 8th place. This one, we finished 5th place in heartbreaking fashion. I'm still not over it,
Hmm.
but I'm very proud of the way that we all played. The
And
team
who
was
was on your team?
myself, Amaz, aka Chris P, and Duck. So same team all 3 times. We got to play this right after, or very soon after, Fall Guys switched to season 2, and if you guys have not been keeping up with it, season 2 means that there are more games and an extra battle pass as well, so you can get lots of new freebies.
You get
It's just
21
a good time to
crowns
jump
for
in.
just playing the game, for just grinding.
Yeah, it's just a really, really good time to get back into it. They've also just made a lot of improvements, quality of life improvements to the game, so that's really good to see. But we played this Twitch Rivals. It's always fun to compete in it, and that's sort of what I've been doing. Just trying to get over my disappointment of how we lost because it was so close. We actually were in the top 4 going into the final round, and then we just got screwed.
Oh,
It
I saw that
happens.
clip. That was rough.
Yes, it was very rough. Always a possibility in a team game that some RNG really doesn't go your way. The Fall Guys gods just say, not today, not for you. It's okay. Hopefully, Amaz will get invited back and we can run it back the 4th time. We are trending upwards 12th, 8th, and now 5th. I think we have shown that we can definitely play with anyone. So I'm excited to see if we do get another shot. But Fall Guys in general is much improved. So if you guys kind of went away from the game or just sort of forgot about it, you should definitely come check it out again. The new games are very fun. There are no hackers anymore, knock on wood, but there really aren't. And it seems like the developers really want to keep adding new stuff to it, especially costumes. The costumes are awesome. Definitely give it a shot.
Yeah. And we play Fall Guys quite frequently on the streams still, especially after season 2 came out. And Sundays now for I think the whole month of October is just going to be like Lightforge podcast and then Fall Guys. So if you guys want to tune in and see some co-op Fall Guys action, you can tune into the stream. We're not putting these on YouTube because we don't really know how to. You can't just like put a run on YouTube. I guess if we had like a really good run or something, but that's not quite how Fall Guys works. But it is on Twitch, and you can see VODs of it as well on our Twitch channel. So that's the shout out for that. Anything else before we end this podcast?
I'm just going to give a PSA to people out there, okay? Because I know there's a bunch of old boomers out there, okay? If you're a boomer and if you have any Pokemon cards at all, dig them out, okay? Old Pokemon cards, dig them out. I'm going to do you a favor. This is the best advice you will have heard this year. Dig them out because they're worth a fortune now. All right. Get them out. If they're in great condition, consider getting them graded because the Pokemon market has exploded. So whatever you're doing right now, stop doing that and prioritize Pokemon. Okay. I know this is something I would have said before, but trust me, now is the time. Get your Pokemon cards out, make a fortune. You're welcome.
All right. On that note, we'll see you guys next week. Until then, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. See you guys.